This is Bobby Steele of the Undead, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Unteed, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Bobby Steele of the Undead.
Yeah, they're promoting their upcoming 35th anniversary re-release of Actor Age on a 2-album set, correct?
Yeah, the first set should be the original album, and the second set is a re-recorded with some special guests.
Fantastic interview. Let's get to it.
All right, good night.
Good night.
As 2023 is coming to a close, we've had a fantastic year here on the Nothing Shocking podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the variety of episodes we've shared with you. Wishing everyone a happy holidays and blessings in the new year. Stay tuned at the end of this episode for a song from the band Star Crystal. Star Crystal is an 80s glam metal band formed in the Ukraine in 2012. The band has 2 albums, Follow Me and Revival of Glam. They've been touring Europe. You can find more information on Star Crystal on their website, social media, or wherever you stream music.
Bobby, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Unteed.
Bobby, thanks for joining us tonight.
All right, how you doing, Jeff?
We are so excited to have you. Thank you for rescheduling with us. It's been kind of crazy the last few months with everything, but we're glad to have you on the show tonight. Let's get right into it. The Undead will be re-releasing Actor Age on a 2 LP release format. Can you give our listeners an insight to this new re-release venture?
Yeah, sure. What this is like, next year it'll be 35 years since the album was released.
Mm-hmm.
So our drummer Joe had come up with a great idea to do a special reissue, and rather than just reissue the original album, that we should actually add a second album where we do all new versions of the recordings, and we get guests on it. And we've done really, really good on getting people in here. We've got, let me see, where's that list? We've got Bumblefoot from Guns N' Roses in Asia. We have Tim Capello. He was the sax player in the movie The Lost Boys. He's also worked with like Tina Turner and Ringo Starr. We got Steve Garvey from the Buzzcocks.
Mm-hmm.
Des Cadena from Black Flag. Greg Hedson from Bad Religion and the Circle Jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Ace Von Johnson, he's been like with Faster Pussycat, LA Guns, US Bombs.
Right.
Dirk Van from Megadeth is on there. We got Argyle Goolsby, We have Alex Story. We have Rick Rivets, who was the original lead guitar player in the New York Dolls, and then he had the Corpse Grinders. It was actually the last thing he ever recorded before he passed away. And we got a couple of like local friends that we just really like, admire them musically. This guy Paul Descola, who's the guy. He's got a cover band, but he really should be doing his originals are amazing. I mean, he's got that whole style of like, a lot of the old hair metal bands,
Yep.
except like where they're still playing like the old songs.
Mm-hmm.
His songs are like new versions of that stuff. So it's like he's got like all these great originals. You can find them on YouTube, and he's an incredible guitar player. So we just had to have him come in here and throw down some tracks, and he does this whole like back and forth thing with Tim Capello's saxophone tracks. That's just like, it's crazy. It's like it takes Hollywood Boulevard to a new level, because the violence that the story is about just like really comes out between those two guys playing back and forth off of each other.
Oh, so cool. Having the second album being special covers, can you talk a little bit more in depthly about, how did you get these artists to come on and these, I guess maybe star-studded lineup of guests to come on here and contribute to the second album?
In most of the cases, it's just that Diana is like a really good talker, and like she's not afraid to go and like approach people about doing these things. And so she's really the one who nailed down like probably like 90% of these people. And I think the only person that I was really like responsible for getting on there was maybe nobody. Come to think of it, I think Diana was the one that pretty much like, would go and say like, why don't we get him? And I say, okay, talk to him. So, well, if we can get, a few other people, we're still talking to, we're actually waiting on Vince Martell. He was in Vanilla Fudge.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he would throw down a lead for Eve of Destruction. So as long as we can connect with him again on that, we'll be getting him. And unfortunately, CJ Ramon.
Yes.
Said he'd do it, but we lost his phone number twice.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we kind of like really blew that one. But we're really excited. I mean, the tracks have come down really well, and the way we did it was we recorded everything in our basement studio, and as these other guitar players come in, I just like wipe my track out and put their track in my place.
Ah.
My goal is to be as like little on this new version as possible, and just have like old guest like musicians like just take over my spot.
Oh, very good.
Nice.
Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, with the first EP, is it in its original format, or was there any talk of remastering, or how does the first album work?
There's no real talk about remastering. We actually like lost like all the multi tracks from before, so there's really not much we could do unless we could like send like the records over to Abbey Road and have them like do that whole AI track separation thing, which I don't think is practical at this point. We might be able to like do at least some like better equalization on it or anything necessary like that. But we'll actually be pulling like most of that either off of the CD version of the songs from Dawn of the Undead, or maybe just like if we can get like a really good clean LP, we might pull them off of that. So we haven't quite gotten to that spot yet, but that's part of the plan. And we'll probably do a CD of just like the new version, and the double LP would just be like the vinyl version, because you can get the original version still on CD on the Dawn of the Undead.
Oh, very good. You touched upon working with Tim Capello. As far as music goes, how many tracks was he involved with on that second album?
Wow, he was like, he probably did like just about the most. Let me just, where's my, I had to like really like make charts of like all the things that these people have done on.
Right.
He did, he actually did Hollywood Boulevard, and then he did Put Your Clothes Back On, and in '84.
Ah,
nice.
Now, as far as working in saxophone music into Undead music. What were the challenges of bringing those two spectrums together?
It wasn't that difficult because, I mean, like the original version of In 84 also had a sax solo on it. So, that was natural. Put your clothes back on when, even though on the original version it was all guitars, the intent was to like actually have like a horn section. I mean, if you listen to like what the lead guitars are doing on there, it's pretty much like, emulating a horn section. So, I just like charted all that out for Tim and gave it to him, and he just like did it all on, I think he did like 3 different types of saxes. He's got like, I think about 4 or 5 tracks on there. So, he threw that down, like, and he's incredible because he did this stuff like in a matter of, I think a day or two. And, the only thing that was really a challenge, I guess, was because we'd never had a sax on Hollywood Boulevard, but he just like listened to it and he really just captured the mood of it. So it's much more chaotic rather than, like usually he's very melodic. This stuff, the sax parts are very like over the top chaotic, and when he's playing back and forth off of Paul Escola's lead guitar parts, the two of them, it's just like it's this battle. It's like I'd been playing them for one person, and she thought it was like getting too chaotic, and I said no, that's the idea. It's supposed to be about a riot. So like with these two guys doing this dueling like parts, it just really like brings out that whole feeling of chaos.
Oh, very good.
Well, once the 2 albums, once the double EP or LP is released, what's the plans for? Are you guys going to do any touring behind it?
We're hoping to be able to do some touring. We're kind of constrained right now with, some legal things that we're dealing with here. So it's pretty much going to be a matter of like flying into a city, doing a show, and then flying back home.
Yeah.
Very
Which
good.
we did that back in February with a show in Austin, and it worked out really great. We just like went to the airport, got on the plane, landed in Austin, sound checked, did the gig, and then got like right back on the plane and got home in the morning.
Well, we see a lot of artists that are doing those fly-out dates or the weekend warrior things. It seems like it's a more prevalent way of touring now. For you, in this part of your career, is that more of an idealistic situation for you, just to do a fly-out date here and there, opposed to getting in a bus or a van or however you guys used to do it back in the day?
Yeah, because we got a family here, and we have a granddaughter, so we don't like to spend too much time away from her. So we pretty much like try to work everything so that we don't take away from her time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, with physical copies of new music not being mass produced like they were back in the day, how many copies will this new re-release have? Do you guys have a quota, like a 500 printing of them, or how are you guys going to, I guess, view the physical copies once you're ready to do so?
I haven't really crossed that bridge. I mean, my preference is always to have like, 1,000, copy run, but I have to see how things are going. Like you're saying, like a lot of this, stuff these days is down to digital. So, I think we're going to like, we're going to try to like see like what we get in pre-orders. When I initially did Act Your Rage, we had like so many pre-orders that on the day that we received those records, we immediately shipped out 7,000 bought copies.
Oh wow!
So
nice.
that's like the whole thing. Like behind this album is that it was like the first time that like a one-man operation ever like put something out that was like so hugely successful. It topped so many college radio charts. We actually even like hit number 3 and held that position for over a month at a Midwest commercial station.
Oh wow!
Which is unheard of, So it shook things up and it pissed off the industry, So, I was told back, when that came out and all that it was doing, I was told by the head of one label that there had been a discussion about, what I was doing, and that they said, we've all agreed you're truly a phenomenon, but we've also all agreed that none of us will ever touch you.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, these were all people that had initially rejected the record, said it sucks, it's not going to sell, and it knocked them out.
Yeah. And the bizarre thing of how the industry is run, right. The proof is in the pudding. You can actually see the numbers. What your thoughts on what scared them off? Do you have any ideology behind that?
I think because they realized that I knew the industry too well. I was able to go where they're spending, tens of thousands of dollars to get airplay. I'm getting the airplay. I was working. I put this record out with recording and pressing and all. I think I had maybe a budget of maybe $15,000. I had a box of Misfits 45s that I sold, and used that to press it. And it was LPs and cassettes. We couldn't afford to make CDs, yet we were and this was, we're talking 1989. Yeah. Everybody was into CDs, and cassettes and vinyl were obsolete at the time. Yet we were within 8 months we had sold 10,000 copies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we were being turned down by labels that were boasting about how their best artist's album after only 2 years had sold 2,000 copies, and they thought that was a great thing to be proud of. And here we were. I had already more than tripled that in one day.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, you had a couple of EPs in 2017 and 19, and I think the last full length in 15. How is the songwriting for the Undead? How has it evolved since Act Your Rage came out in 1989?
Well, one of the big evolutions is that Diana really got into the writing part with me. So we kind of do this Lennon McCartney thing where she might come up with an idea, and I'll start to write the song, and then we'll sit down together, and she'll start throwing other ideas into it, and we'll kind of bounce off of each other. And having an Undead Summer was that's what it was. I told her one day, I'd always wanted to do kind of a surf record and call it Having an Undead Summer. And all of a sudden, we're driving, and we used to own a hearse, and she just comes up with this thing hey, we should do a thing, hearse song, and it's a play on words. Is it her song or is it hearse song?
Awesome.
And I'd already had a couple of lines in my head for a song, and not knowing what to do with it, and all of a sudden I realized it fit there. And we just played off of each other, same thing with, Undead Summer. We were kind of with that, we had a loose backing track, and we just started one day just having fun, just singing into one mic, just to see what we could come up with as far as harmonies and parts and everything. And I think we wound up keeping that as the final track.
Oh, very cool. I kind of wanted to bring this back to the tangible product. As far as we're seeing more and more artists now releasing singles for new music, opposed to releasing full length albums or EPs. It seems like we're going back in time with the release of the 45. For you in the Undead, is it still advantageous for you to still release a physical copy of a product opposed to releasing digital singles on the internet?
I think so, because years ago, when I don't know if you saw, I had released what was it? I Want You Dead 45, and the I Made a Monster 45. And it was at a time when vinyl was pretty much dead, and I just really wanted to find a way to stimulate interest in vinyl again. And so I just came up with a unique packaging. Okay, the I Made a Monster 45, the sleeve, it's it was based on a Mad Magazine fold-in.
Yeah. So
you had to buy the record in order to fold the sleeve if you wanted to get the concept. Okay, I Want You Dead was actually the original recordings that we had done back in 1981. It was our original demos, and back then I had the whole concept for the sleeve, but it wasn't a practical design, because part of the idea of the sleeve was it had a mirror on it. So like when you were looking at the record, you saw yourself like reflected inside a coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because I had just like settled a lawsuit with Walmart, I had the money to be able to do crazy stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, talk a little bit about that lost art of the packaging, because in the digital world now, where modern bands are giving up on albums and only putting out digital music, you don't have that casing or the package that goes with it. And you guys are known for, you got some pretty cool artwork that you've done out with some of your albums. Can you talk a little bit about how that works with the band?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to being in the Misfits. Okay, it's, mainly it's like a big part of the pack. The whole package isn't just the music; it's the music and the packaging.
Very much so.
I learned quite a bit from Glenn, working alongside Glenn on like how to make like record sleeves that like are more than just like a box.
Yeah.
He was always good at coming up with something that was going to catch your attention, and so I was able to like learn a lot about graphic design just from like following him around all the time as he was like designing things and making things. So, I got a lot of that. And to me, the package is very important. It was like with having an Undead Summer, just out of the blue, our son just suggested, like, why don't you get the guy who does the Goosebumps covers?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, the first thought is like, he's not going to do our record cover. But Diana tracks him down on Facebook and writes to him, and next thing you know, he's doing the cover for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Diana's got the guts to like go out and like reach out to people that she's like, she lacks the experience of knowing that you're not supposed to do certain things. Which sometimes, I mean, years ago I had a manager who was a 16-year-old kid who knew nothing about the music business except that he wanted to like help me get out on tour. And he would say, like, can I book you a tour? And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. So yeah, go ahead. And next thing I know, I got all these gigs lined up and the money's good. And it's like, it was the first time I did a tour where I didn't lose money.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then like I'm out on the road and I'm listening to the radio as I'm driving into Indianapolis, and I hear that like the Guns N' Roses Faith No More Metallica tour is going to be coming into town, and I've got like a day or two off. So I call this kid up and I say, here's Metallica's manager's phone number. Call them up and tell them that you represent me, and I'd like to meet them. Now, any experienced manager would tell you, no, you don't do that. But this kid didn't know that. So, like, a few days later, he calls me back. He goes, well, I couldn't get hold of him in time for the Indianapolis show, but they're going to be in New Jersey next week, and you're their guest.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes, having somebody that's got the enthusiasm over the experience can do more.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk a little bit about, I guess funding new music on your own. I know a lot of artists are turning to that crowdfunding type of thing where it's a Patreon, people donate to it for an artist to get a new album out. For you, is that something that you've ever entertained, or is it still one of those kind of things you prefer financing new music yourself?
No, I've entertained it. I don't know how to go about it, really. I have to do like a lot of research on that end to see like what it involves. I know, Michael Graves is really good with that. And I know, you get people you get people like say they contribute this much to the project, and you'll like in return like talk to them on the phone or send them special extra stuff. So I have to like get more of like the in and outs of like how that all works really, because if we're going to do something like that, I don't just want to be like a mooch.
Exactly.
I want to be able to say, okay, look, we really could use some help with this thing, and this is what we can give to you. and take it from there. You know, I mean, having an Undead Summer, we didn't have to crowdfund it because this one fan just like said, "Hey, look, I'm rich. I'll give you the money to do it." And so he gave us like the money, you know, almost all the money that we needed to press up that record.
Nice.
That's a pretty good friend.
Yeah.
Jeff, you got the next question, Jeff?
Well, getting in the studio and working on this second album, does that give the band any kind of resurgence to get back in there and make another EP or another album?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm already thinking about the next thing, you know, because you know, having one of the great benefits about having a home studio is you don't have to watch the clock. You're not always thinking about like how much this is costing. You know, back in the days, I mean, you know, when I was in the Misfits, you were talking like a couple of $100 an hour for a recording studio.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and then even like, you know, when I did Act Your Rage, I think that studio was about $75 an hour. You know, so like now it's like it's costing me electricity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, and you've got like all this great computer-based recording stuff. So like the biggest thing is like, okay, you know, what kind of microphones should I use? You know, and that's really the only place where I you know, I'm constantly trying to upgrade is get better microphones.
You know, we talk to a lot of artists and their thoughts on, you know, at-home technology, you know, recording at-home technology, that is. A lot of them say, you know, it's the greatest thing that could ever happen, especially during the pandemic. We were able to record our music at home. We never had to worry about leaving, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's other artists that prefer that old-fashioned getting in the studio and banging out songs with other musicians all in the same room together. For you, the artist, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the new way of technology of doing it at your home? You can go down to your basement and do it yourself, or do you miss that, hey, let's go to a proper studio and do this together?
Well, the thing is, like, our basement studio, like, I've been working on getting things set up a lot better for the next recording stuff that we do. And the plan is to, like, be able to, like, all of us just, like, play it together live, like old recordings were done, rather than just, like, lay down the drum track and then, like, then come in with the guitar, put the guitar down, then put the bass down. I want to have everybody together playing in the same room, because you do pick up a better vibe when you're all, you know, when everybody is together and playing off of each other.
Yes, indeed.
When you are working on new material, do you turn everything off, or do you still get out there and listen to what's going on in the world around you? Are there any new bands that you're listening to?
I've been pretty much isolated, so I can't really say that I've been listening to too much new stuff. Okay, like, you know, I've mentioned like Paul Lascola.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this guy Matt Witt. He used to have a band that was called Coach and Commando, and it was just a two-piece. It was just him on guitar and a drummer, and just some of the most like crazy kick-ass rockabilly stuff. We actually have him on the record also, because
Nice.
we did several gigs with him, and we were always like so impressed with like his playing, his like presence and everything. So we said, look, we gotta like have him come in here. So, you know, we had the one rockabilly song on the album, so The Way We Behave. So we had him come over here with his guitar and amp, and he just he threw it down.
Very good. You know, since we're in this, you know, post-COVID era of the pandemic, and we're back to seeing artists go play live shows and what have you, how have you noticed the crowds have been? Do you feel like there's any difference than pre-COVID numbers, or is it just back to the normal?
We've only done, I think, 2 or 3 shows since COVID, so it's really hard for me to like say, because the last show that we did, it turned out that like Danzig was playing like a few miles away, so he kind of like took the crowd from us, you know. So I really don't have a good assessment on like how things are going to be. You know, all I know is that there's already promoters that have approached us. I told them the situation that, you know, they would have to like be able to fly us out and fly us back in order to have us play, and they're not balking at it. You know, so, you know, if they're gonna, you know, if they're willing to go for that, I guess it says something for the, that we're still going to have that draw, when we get out to these places.
Yeah, very good. Well, we're running out of our allotted time for the evening. I have one last question for you, and then we'll leave you alone. Deal?
All right, sure.
So I asked this question to all of our guests. It's the mystery of rock and roll question. With the dawning of the internet and all this different social medias out there, there is no mystery in the rock and roll world. For you, the fan and the artist, what do you prefer? Do you miss the days of the mystery and mystique that rock and roll once had? Being part of the Misfits, you had a mystery behind you. Or do you prefer this new age of accessibility? Because if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't be doing this with you tonight.
It's a double-edged sword, I guess, in some ways. The mystery was good, but again, like, I'm a fanboy myself with some people, and like, because of the internet, I've gotten to meet like some of my heroes from when I was a teenager, and like listening to their records. A month ago, I was sitting down having dinner with Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It was like, if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have probably made that contact with him, and, there's been other people that, like, I've looked up to that, like, because of, like, the internet, because of also, like, things like Chiller Theater, like horror cons, that I've been able to, like, network and, like, meet some people that I never thought I would ever meet.
Yeah, well said.
And personally, in the early days of the Undead, I would always like, before the internet, you had mail, and if kids wrote to me, I wrote back to them. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was it was kind of like some people might say, well, that's part of your job, but to me, it wasn't a job. It was like it was great to like be able to like be on one-on-one relationships. I mean, some of these people I'm still like in touch with now and then.
Nice.
And some of them are shocked that I remember them, but like they don't realize like how much they stood out in my life. There was a guy like back in like 1983. He wrote to me from England, and it was a package, and he had like made an Undead T-shirt before anybody else had Undead T-shirts.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Maybe like, what was it? Maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, he touches base on Facebook. But Diana does like all the Facebook stuff, and she goes, "Do you remember this guy?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, he's the guy that made that shirt that I showed you." And all of a sudden we're back and forth, and like he's like, "You remember me?" I was like, "How can I not?" And there's still some people like that like I've just known forever, that like I've watched them go from being just these kids to like being successful.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Some of them, and some of them far more successful than me. And it's great because even like Ace Von Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I knew him when he was like 14, 15 years old, and he was just like some kid writing to me.
Mm.
And now he's like, he's in all these great bands, and he's done all this stuff, and he's like, well, yeah, I'll be on your record, So it goes around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off that you would like to plug or promote?
Oh yeah, our website.
Oh yeah, please do.
Yeah, it's theundead.com. And go check it out. We've got a store there. It's not the most, fancy store, but, we've got T-shirts, we've got records and stuff like that. You can always email me, email at theundead.com. And, if you're listening to this and you're a promoter and you're interested in, like, flying us out to, your area, also just drop us an email and let's see what we can work out.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Well, this is how things are going to work out, Bobby. We're about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks behind on our episodes, but once this is ready to go, Jeff, the editing wizard, will get this all cleaned up. Please share it wherever you possibly can, and we'd appreciate it because we're going to share it wherever we can.
Great. Sounds great. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Bobby, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Bobby.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.